Hi, welcome to Manas Shield YouTube channel. Before we start, kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you. Let's start the video. If you haven't watched the previous video, I'll link it in the description box, or you can click here. Tensura Volume 20. Chapter 1. The First Battle. Zelanus Battle Appearance. Carrera, who understood the situation when Zess pointed out the situation to her, wore a bitter expression on her face. She had been enjoying her battle with Zess, but now she felt drained and disillusioned. Immediately after that, she felt a chill and jumped back as fast as she could. A moment later, the place where she used to be exploded. That's great. Thanks to you, I am one step closer to becoming a new god of creation. To test this power, you will be of use to me. Zess, speaking more fluently than before, opens and closes his fist as he addresses Carrera. These are the words of the strong to the weak, and a statement that tramples on Carrera's pride. You say that. You're asking me to test your strength against me. I wouldn't give you any right of refusal. As soon as he said that, Zess lightly thrust out his fist. It was a gentle jab, but its speed was tens of times faster than the speed of sound. The shock wave was so strong that it burned the air and shattered the ground. Clearly, it was more powerful than before. The existence value of Zess seems to have increased significantly, if not doubled. What was more troubling was that various special abilities seemed to have been newly added to Zess's being. It's not fair at all, Carrera complained inwardly. After all these efforts to build a path to victory, they had to start all over again. However, although it is difficult, it is not impossible. Because, even though the strength increased, the level of skill itself did not seem to change. If Zess had shown the same level of skill as Zelan, Carrera would have felt threatened. However, since this was not the case, Carrera did not lose her composure despite her frustration. However, she is still annoyed at Zess's licking attitude, and she is determined to get back at Zess. The reason why Carrera's smile disappeared from her face is not because she despairs of Zess's power. The problem was the situation of his friends. This guy looks pretty bad. He seems stronger than my prey, and I doubt if Carrera and Milim can win even if they work together. Carrera's estimation is that Gopta and Ranga, Geld, and Carrion and Free will be able to defeat Mujika by combined effort. The enhanced Mujika had become such a formidable opponent. If the game played out as Carrera expected, the odds were 50-50. Sacrifices would be made against Millard's will. Carrera was faithful to Rimura's orders. The reason why she was fighting against Zess was because she thought that she could avoid casualties among her comrades by taking on the most troublesome enemy herself. This was based on the assumption that Milim would take care of Zelanus, the generals of the enemy, because she thought that once she took care of the second most troublesome enemy, the rest would be taken care of. Since they were wrong, they could not afford to be bothered with Zess, which was only the third best player. Carrera had a big decision to make. I wanted to save some for later, but I don't want to regret not offering it. Sorry Zess, I would have enjoyed fighting with you more, but I guess it's time to say goodbye. Carrera apologized to Zess in her mind. Carrera wanted to gain experience by defeating Zess, but when her friends' lives were at stake, she could not allow herself to put her own pleasure first. She made up her mind and pointed her golden gun at Zess. Don't you understand yet that such a thing will not work? As Zess said, even Carrera's mana bullet condensed by the golden gun could only produce enough power to damage Zess's exoskeleton. Moreover, the wound would be regenerated immediately, so the damage was practically zero. Nevertheless, Carrera continued to use the golden gun as a distraction. And there was another reason. This is more important than die. It was to use it as a trump card in a critical moment. Before Carrera's words can reach him, the golden gun releases the killing bullet. The name of the bullet, which could destroy anyone, was called Judgment. Zess looks at the big hole in his chest. A feeling of life fading away. The magical cord that sustained his existence is destroyed, and he realizes that there is no escape from his impending death. Have you been cutting corners from the very beginning? No, we were almost even in strength, and you're pretty good now. If we had gone head to head, it would have been difficult to win. Then why? Because of that. It was fun to continue fighting a battle that may or may not be won, but this was no longer the time to let Carrera's personal feelings take precedence. The more Carrera struggled, the higher the probability that all his friends would be wiped out. In addition to that, there was another thing that she really wanted. The battle with you was interesting in its own way, but you are weaker than Zelan, so I think I'm done with you. With a big smile on her face, Carrera told Zess the truth, a truth that would have been hopeless for Zess. It was a very devilish act, but Carrera did it without realizing it. I am inferior. I should be the new god of creation. Zess muttered regretfully. Those were Zess's last words. Even in the face of the end of a powerful enemy, Carrera does not feel a sense of accomplishment. Before she can even feel the aftermath of the battle, she is about to go to the aid of Gopta and his men. But just then, the enemy, who had been hiding in plain sight, finally makes his move. I've been waiting for this moment. What? Carrera, who had not felt any sign of the enemy, is startled by the pain in her arms. It is not a pain, but a sign of damage. The impact was incredibly heavy and violent, hitting her over the defenses of her arms, which barely protected her vital points. The attack was a kick from Insect Lord Zelanus, who appeared to have surpassed even Carrera's universal perception. Carrera reacts quickly, but anyone else would have been finished off by the blow. Cuck, you're in a hurry to get here at last, aren't you? If I can hit an enemy, I will crush him without hesitation. Insect Lord Zelanus was looking for an opportunity to strike Carrera just as he said. He was confident of his overwhelming superiority, but still, fearing the possibility of a defeat, he kept his eyes vigilantly on Carrera until the time of her victory. It was Carrera's judgment that he had been on the lookout for. Minaza, who had sent him as a sentinel, had reported about a man named Kondu. Although Kondu had not revealed all of his powers, Minaza, who had been observing him, had judged that he was highly dangerous with unknown powers, and Zelanus had taken this seriously. Zelanus, who remembered this, had also inquired Michael and Feldway, and knew that Kondu's authority had been transferred to Carrera. He had made some predictions for the current operation. In Michael's case, Castle Guard seems to have prevented the attack, but Zelanus has no such authority. He was waiting for Carrera to use her nasty power, because he was afraid that his own defense would not be enough. This timidity and cautiousness are the factors that make Zelanus the strongest. And now, after waiting for a long time, his worries are finally gone. He lost an important piece, Zess, but on the other hand, it was a good thing that he was so cautious. It was a great power, even for an enemy. If I had been hit by this, I would not have survived. While praising it, Zelanus's worries are already past. Now that he has taken all precautions, there is no longer any sense of danger for Carrera. Carrera, too, has seen Zelanus and understands the danger. This guy is dangerous. I don't understand. It was as if she's facing Zijin, or even worse. She feel like she don't even have a clue how to get to the bottom of it. She had to admit, though uncomfortably so. Insect Lord Zelanus is stronger than Carrera, the Menace Lord. But that does not mean Carrera will give up so easily. What? You call yourself a king, aren't you a little bit impatient? Carrera says hatefully. But Zelanus was better than Carrera in a quarrel. You so bossy at this stage of the game, the devil is a man who hates to lose. He looked down on Carrera with the air of a victor. Perhaps you think you've already won, don't you? That's a little too arrogant in front of me. Carrera's expression did not show any room for complacency. After all, Carrera's arms had been shattered by Zelanus's mere kick. It was difficult for Carrera to even hold the golden gun, let alone grasp the sword. Carrera's skeleton was originally made of Remuru's special orichalcum. It had now evolved into a Heihirking. It has strength, hardness, and viscosity equivalent to those of mythical grade, and has indestructible properties. And yet, it would be understandable if she had been injured by a mythical grade weapon, but it was unexpected that a mere kick could cause this much damage. That alone makes understand the threat level of Insect Lord Zelanus. The secret of this threat was revealed when she looked at the whole body of Insect Lord Zelanus. Its exoskeleton was shining in rainbow colors. It was just like the glow of Heihirking. I never thought that the whole body was a Heihirking. Looking at his body, it was obvious that Insect Lord Zelanus is the ultimate life form that combines offense and defense. His whole body was a deadly weapon and the strongest shield. Slowly, Carrera observed the whole of Zelanus. The silvery cilia running from his forehead to his back looked like long hair. However, upon closer inspection, each hair was covered with tiny protuberances that resembled the shape of a blade. Even the cilia were probably made by Heihirking, since they appeared to be rainbow-colored when viewed from different angles. Does it mean that each of those hairs is a mythical grade blade? I don't know how to manipulate them, but they might cut us into tiny pieces if we are not careful. On his forehead, a pair of antennae were swinging. 2 pairs of wings from its back and waist were glowing red, and 3 pairs of arms were poised on the defensive. Those wings also look dangerous. They are terribly dense, but is it because of the energy compression? If they are released, they might change the shape of the star by themselves. Probably, it will be more destructive than the extreme magic that Carrera manipulates. That's how much she could feel the frightening energy from those 2 pairs of wings. Then, the 3 pairs of arms. 1 pair of arms was randomly arranged, but the other 2 pairs were ready for battle. The lowest arm, crossed in front of the abdomen, was ready to cast a spell at any moment. In addition, the arm in the upper stance was discolored and deformed from the middle, becoming thin like a blade and shining dully. If the first blow had been made with those thin arms, it was highly probable that Carrera's arms would have been amputated. As Carrera continued to observe, Zelanus placed one foot on the prone Zess. It looked like he was stomping on his son, but the reality was worse than that. "What are you doing?" Carrera asked, and was answered by the sound of gurgling, grinding, and chewing coming from under Zelanus's feet. Yes, that's right. Zelanus was eating Zess, his son and head of the insect general, in front of Carrera. "You know, that guy was bragging about being the next god of creation. Were you planning on using him as a pawn from the start?" Carrera asks with narrowed eyes. The answer was a loud laugh from Zelanus. "Stop laughing. The successor of Wall must be the strongest. Even more so than he was." Suddenly, Zelanus moves. With a mouth that appears on the sole of his foot, he finishes eating Zess. He absorbs knowledge and experience in order to take his power for himself. As a proof of this, Zelanus's tone has become fluent without an accent. And his power. Carrera tries desperately to take a defensive position. But her hand does not move. Oh no. If he takes it seriously, I will be damaged beyond recovery. Her thoughts accelerate a million times, and she comes to a conclusion, but the reality is merciless. At least, not in Carrera's life so far. But apparently, this moment is different. Zelanus's kick was caught by someone. Wahahaha. Now is the time for me. I'm not going to hold back anymore. The girl appeared with her platinum pink hair, smiling happily. And that girl is Carrera's new friend and one of the strongest in the world, Demon Lord Milim Nava. "Carrera, I'm going to take him." And Milim and Zelanus went into full-on battle. Then, Carrera had no more chance. "Well, I can't help it. I'll recover as soon as possible." Carrera changed her mind quickly and calmly. While recovering herself, she turned her attention to the battle situation of the bears group. The battle was more fierce than she had expected. With Carrera's defeat of Zess, only Peleid and Mujika remain as insect general. However, these two are very troublesome. The most notable one is Peleid. The wife of insect lord Zelanus and the creator of all the insects, she seemed to be getting more and more powerful. To fight against Peleid, 5 members led by a bear, excluding Milim, were fighting against Mujika. A bear was leading and acting as a wall. As soon as she was exhausted, Geld would step forward and take her place. The remaining 3, Carrion, Free, Gopta, and Ranga, were playing a ranger role and repeatedly attacking Peleid. This was, in Carrera's opinion, a very dangerous strategy. For Carrion and Free, who were exhausted, even though they were of an awakened class, even a single blow from Peleid could be fatal. Even though Bear and Geld were distracting them, one wrong move could have resulted in a catastrophe. This is why the roles of a Bear and Geld are important here. Especially now that there is no healer, this war is not possible without Geld, who has a high self-regeneration ability. Milim is playing against Mujika instead of Geld. This is a one-on-one battle. Mujika, who has greatly increased his power, is much stronger than Milim in terms of existence value alone. However, the battle was still close, almost back and forth. The reason for this is the seriousness of Milim. Milim, not in a mood to be shy of showing off his skills, had lifted all the restrictions he had imposed on himself, and showed his dragon body which he had never shown, except when he was fighting against Milim. His limbs are covered with dragon scales while he still retains his human form. The whole body under the clothes was similarly protected except for the joints. Of course, this is not to say that the existence value is increased by this, but only that the dragon is fully exercising its power. In other words, Milim is now in a state where all restraints have been suspended. This is the reason why this was a heated battle, with both sides exploring each other's abilities, and even engaging in a high level of psychological warfare. Wow, Milim-san is the best. I was curious to see who is better than Zijin, but I guess it's a close match. Carrera, who was watching the game, was so impressed by Milim's strength. Mujika, who is a warrior by nature, has a certain level of skill. Otherwise, he would have been defeated by Geld long ago. Mujika's existence value has increased several times compared to Geld's even before the enhancement. Even when compared to Milim, Mujika's value was more than 3 times higher than Milim's, and there was an overwhelming gap between the two. Since he was able to compete with such Mujika, it was easy to understand how insane Milim was. In fact, Zijin would win in a serious fight. However, if Zijin fights with the same force as Milim. In Carrera's opinion, the skill level of both fighters seemed to be equal. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoy it.